Hi there. This is Lee Matos, Senior Support Engineering Manager, Americas East, with an update about our support response crew trial after our first week. So let me dive in. Starting us off, I just wanted to share with you where you can find more information. And if you're an audio visual learner, then this is the spot for you. If you prefer to read, we have a copy of this slide deck and our other materials listed here. If you want to see more of a video of our prior intro video, you could check that out. And otherwise, I'll write a summary on the issue, so you could check up there. So if you're audiovisual, right spot. If not, we have the resources you need to do what you want. Thank you. Diving in, I want to take a minute to talk about feedback that we got, positive and negative, and some questions. So starting off, it was really important for me to try and find a theme here. And I highlighted things that I think were a theme across positive and negative. So it was nice to chill and grab near breach tickets as a team. Felt like we were actually resolving issues rather than only babysitting tickets. That one was really strong. And that's something that I want us to continue to carry with us. We should be resolving issues and not babysitting tickets. So I'm happy to hear that someone felt this way. Way better than doing SLA Hawk all week. Someone else found that the structure that it gave them helped them to communicate when they could help and when they weren't able to help. And that was helpful to them. Also, collaborating felt more smooth and natural. So that's another great thing that I heard. Going on to the negative side, of which I heard plenty of negative feedback, and that's great. Thank you for sharing. We had 11 people write in for the whole survey, and I wanted to share some of the things that people thought we should or could improve on. It didn't feel like there were 5 of us working in the queues, just 2. I feel like this would have worked well if it was more collaborative, but it felt a little isolating and stressful this time. We also need to take some time to figure out how US Fed interacts with this and how they could respond to a surge of tickets there if they were in the crew. So someone, thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. That was very helpful because it was something I had not considered as a factor. The next thing here, a bit conflicted in how we should handle some tickets. I responded to prevent a breach, but I'm not familiar with the subject enough to provide a path forward. I already posted to see if someone could take it. No one did. I felt like sometimes there was a friction due to competing priorities of working on my assigned tickets versus focusing on next to breach. Someone else said, I felt like I was the only one working towards the end and found it a bit overwhelming to juggle 4 breaching tickets. And one of the last bits of feedback that I saw, I joined the Zoom call for an hour and announced it in the chat, but nobody joined. So taking a look, for me, the theme was so clear. Collaboration is key. Starting here, people loved when collaboration was happening and the ability to work together and how this structure was enabling that. People did not like when they felt alone, when they felt like others weren't able to help or there with them, and the collaboration was not happening, right? That to me, I think was the theme that I saw. I would love to hear from you if you see or feel that there's a different theme, but coming out of the positive and negative, collaboration is key. So thank you everybody for that feedback. I want to dive in now to some specific questions that came from that feedback survey and take a chance to try and address them. How is support response crew materially different from how the working on tickets workflow should be working? So if you're new to GitLab, in our handbook, we have the working on tickets workflow, which covers how you pick up tickets and how you should work them and how you can ask for help and things like that. Now, in a perfect world, every ticket would have an assignee that would help shepherd it along, that would help get the ticket resolved. And when that happens, there would never be any breaches and we'd be set. But we don't live in that perfect world. And because of that, what I want us to do is make sure that we build a failsafe. So response crew is sort of 2 things at once, right? It's a replacement for FRT hawks, which is a form of failsafe that we need to scale up. And it's also a failsafe for the working on tickets workflow. So while it's a failsafe for 2 things, it's really designed as a failsafe. If everybody is working through their tickets and we have no breachers, then the response crew then is working on their own tickets and picking things up and maybe solving some other projects. Great. but there's always going to be some failure happening. That's okay. We should be ready for it. And response crew is our ability to have and fail with grace. Now, I want to be super clear. We had in the past FRT hawks and SLA hawks as our failsafe, and now we're iterating on that. And if this is not something that works or delivers value, we will iterate on this. And so going forward, I think it's really important to realize we will always have some sort of fail-safe process. We are not going to try and build a process that doesn't have fail-safes. So keep that in mind. But this was a great question. Thank you for raising that. The next one that I saw here was in the crew documentation. It says, on your crew day, you should aim to be available for most of your normal working hours. And the question was, how is this different from being available and helping with tickets as part of support engineer responsibilities? So in our handbook, we outline that as a support engineer, you should be primarily focusing on tickets while also focusing on documentation improvements and updates to the code if you're able to, right? And here, the question is sort of, how is this different than a normal day? And to me, I think the difference is you should come into your crew day with the intention to collaborate. And I would love if you come in every day with the intention to collaborate. And I think many of our support engineers do. But also, I know that sometimes you need to just dive into a problem and get your hands wet and solve a problem for a customer that's going to take you 2 or 3 hours to set it up and evolve. We have complex issues. And so some of those days, you're not going to be collaborative. But on your crew day, you should be ready to collaborate. And as we talked about earlier, we saw that feedback where people loved collaboration and hated when it couldn't happen. So if there's only one day a week that you're collaborating with our team, you should be collaborating on the crew day. I would love if you collaborate more, and I think that that will happen because it's already happening, but with intention. Come into your crew day to collaborate, and I think that that will be the difference, right? And you should expect other people coming in ready to collaborate on that day. And because of that, it may feel different than other days. We'll see. And that's great feedback. I would love to see in another few weeks how that looks. Does it look different? Do we still need this? Is there a different style failsafe we should be exploring? We'll find out. So, next question. Should we reframe the standing Zoom room and make it so that anyone seeking to work synchronously can use it rather than it being just when you're in the crew? And I love this question, and it sort of goes back to that collaboration. And I think for the crew trial, we want to be intentional as part of our crew structure to make a space for the crew to collaborate. Now, in that, you can go ahead and join in if you want to go and on a non-crew day, if you want to do more crew stuff and help the crew, jump in. If you want to collaborate with other people, the crew is around, so they should be able to possibly help. Now, we also have plenty of other non-crew engineers, and you could set up whatever type of collaboration you want, whether that's a pairing session or a group around a specific problem or customer. I think that I don't want to force us to do one thing and say we have to do it this way. I want to say collaborate. And for the crew, we've made a Zoom room that should make that easier. For everybody else, if you want to be in that Zoom room more, feel free. But otherwise, feel free to collaborate in other different ways as well. So think about it like that. And I hope that that helps. This next question here, which is a really challenging one. How do we balance tickets coming in while you're on the crew and tickets you're already assigned? And this one, I don't have an easy answer for. And I'm going to lean on the engineers in the trial. Please help me understand how we should balance that. What should we be doing differently? What things should we take into account? Is there some sort of setup where we should try and make sure that you have less tickets assigned to you as you come into your crew day? I'm not sure. Start to think about that and start to come up with ideas, because during this time, we should start to flesh that out and figure out how we make sure that gets easier. So, great question. I don't have the answer. Thank you for raising it, and let's collaborate to figure out what we can do to make that better and clearer. I don't know. I'm very excited to see what we come up with. And now, the last question here, which I think is a great one. What are we doing to prevent bystander effect and the diffusion of responsibility? And I think that I have to be really blunt here. Only you can prevent the bystander effect. And if everybody comes into the crew day with the intention to collaborate, there shouldn't be anybody standing by, right? And we saw in the negative feedback, when people felt alone, that led them to have a negative experience. When people felt like they were collaborating, that led to a positive experience. Now, we're trialing this out. This was our first week doing this. I don't expect anybody to know what we're doing, right? We're figuring it out and working together to make this work. So, with that in mind, I want to just say, I think our team is great. And I think we already do a great job of collaborating. And as we try and adopt this new process, I do want to put collaboration front and center based on the feedback we saw, because it's clear that is actually the secret ingredient, if I were to name one, right? And the way that we collaborate is by people feeling like they can jump in and work together. So keep that in mind. And I hope that this helps as we think through the positive, negatives, and the questions I saw. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about some data. So I pulled up some data. This is the last 4 weeks, and FRT has been dropping over the last 2 weeks, which is a little bit concerning. Our NRT is pretty strong, but our FRT dropped. So I wanted to take a look at another graph, which is our heat map across the last week and where we're struggling. The times are in Eastern Standard Time, and it appears that our hottest spots are where we go from AMER West into APAC. So the AMER response crew has a component in there, but does that mean AMER East needs to help do a better job? Do we need to reshape and restructure crew days? I'm not sure yet. We're going to keep looking at that, and I'm going to ask engineers, if you have ideas, please, would love to hear them. If you're seeing things that you think are not working well, would love to hear about it. Thank you for what you've raised so far, and let's continue to work together as we figure this out. Now, I also wanted to look at one more way to look at this data, where I've merged basically any SLA that was not LNR, so FRT and NRT as one, right? This is kind of our total SLA performance across the last 6 weeks. And you could see pre-AMER crew, it's relatively flat. We had one outlier day, which I have no idea what happened there, and I didn't spend any more time on. We have our holiday week, where in America it was Thanksgiving, and we started to rise. And basically, right after the holiday, we saw a drop, and the support response crew in AMER was able to stabilize. So I'm going to keep an eye as we go forward. Right now, we look to be in and around the range that we traditionally have for the last 6 weeks. So at the moment, no strong improvement, but that's after week one coming into week two of this process. Great. Let's keep an eye out as we go forward and see what things do. I hope with that refocusing around collaboration, that is going to be the component that leads to our success. The last slide that I want to leave you with here today is our action plan based on some of the bits that came out of here. So if you're in US Fed, I've created an issue. Come there and let's talk about how we figure out, is there a better way to align the crew with Fed? Do we need to pull everyone out? Is there a better way that we make sure that we do it every other week? I'm not sure. I'm leaning on US Fed. Help us understand, because your contributions are welcome, but I don't want to overstress people. So thanks. If you're in LNR, you shouldn't be in the crew. Some people were. That's an accident. I'm sorry. If you are still in the crew and still getting notified about it, let me know. I can fix that. And one of the things that came up as well that I heard was around alerts. Can we get alerts back in PagerDuty? That was really helpful. I'm not sure about in PagerDuty yet, maybe. EMEA is using a bot to do it in the response crew channel, and I think I could set that up for AMER. So I have to create a schedule and then set that up. So keep an eye out for that. And if we can get it to PagerDuty in the future, great. If not, if this solves the need, great. But let's keep iterating. And the thing that I want to end with is, we're sort of in this holiday mode where support engineers are taking time off, customers are taking time off, GitLab employees are taking time off. And in this time, we're not going to really test and get a battle tested, if you will. As a bad analogy, we're not going to get the full test of our ability to use crew, right? And with that, that's going to come around mid-Jan. So the next few weeks are our time to experiment with building that trust and that collaboration as a crew, as individual crews per day. And then as we come into mid-January, I think that's where we're going to start to see, how does this really work? So around mid-January, I look to make another one of these, and we'll talk more and I'll ask for more feedback. So thanks already and look forward to that. Otherwise, I really appreciate your contributions. I hope this was helpful. Thanks all. Have a great one. Peace. Bye-bye.